The area was relatively clear. There was one wanderer that the guard dispatched quickly. Soon, a fire was started. The night guard's schedule was sorted out, and the sleeping areas were outlined, for maximum safety while unconscious. After an hour, every pony was asleep, except 2 guards, who constantly circled the camp, alert for signs of trouble. In the morning, the group was awoken, and on the move quickly. The day was uneventful. They only saw a small group of the undead, and that was way off in the distance. That night's camp was similar. However, the group woke up to a surprise. All the guards were gone, with the supplies. Rainbow Dash was furious. She wanted to hunt the traitorous royal guard down and kill them, but she knew she didn't stand a chance against a dozen heavily trained, heavily armed soldiers, especially since she no longer had a weapon. Rainbow Dash took position as leader of the group, and now, disheartened survivors continued the journey to Canterlot. Dash wanted to make good time, so they continued well into the night, until they were too tired to continue. Instead of creating a makeshift night watch, Rainbow Dash fell asleep, along with everyone else. They were rudely awakened. Rainbow Dash jumped awake as a high-pitched scream rang out. She looked around frantically for the source of the screaming, and spotted a dark blue pony with velvet eyes, and the rotting husk of a brown pony right behind her. He had his mouth on her shoulder, with crimson blood running steadily down her body. The screaming intensified as more of the survivors joined in. "Shut up!" Rainbow Dash screamed anxiously. The crowd continued to holler in fright. Dash picked up a rock and threw it at the zombie pony's head. Soft with decay, his head just caved in, and blood oozed onto the ground. Another rock was used to terminate the newly bitten pony. Covered in blood and flecks of brain from beating in the infected survivor's head, made Rainbow Dash look frightening. "You're all idiots!" she hissed in seething anger. "You probably just attracted every one of them nearby with all that screaming." The group looked ashamed and guilty. "Great. Now we have to get as far away from here as we can, which means we'll be too tired to travel in the morning, and I'll have to spend the majority of the day resting. I don't see us ever reaching Canterlot alive, with all of you acting like that." Without another word, Dash turned around and began trotting to Canterlot, with the group close behind her. The sky was pink with early sunshine, and birds were beginning to chirp when an exhausted group sat down to rest. Most of the ponies had overstepped their limits and were breathing heavily and panting, and everyone was coughing. Rainbow Dash flew up into the air and scanned the area, and once she was there, and sure that there wouldn't be any more surprise attacks, she came down and gave them all permission to rest. Most of them were asleep in seconds. It was late afternoon when the travel-weary group got up and continued walking. They reached Canterlot by sunset. The guards that waited by the train tracks let them in, inspecting them for bites, and let them through. Spitfire flew down to Rainbow Dash. "Looks like it was a success," she remarked. "Yeah. Apart from 2 civvies dying and the guards stealing our food and running off, everything went well. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to find my friends." Dash spat. Spitfire's face hardened for a moment, then relaxed. After all, due to her vulnerable rank, she wasn't used to being spoken to in that manner, but Spitfire had realized she owed Dash a lot for what she did. Spitfire just nodded in acknowledgement, and Rainbow Dash was glad she was finally able to continue her search for Twilight. Without another word, she turned in the direction of the Crystal Empire and took off.